In this video, we will be tasting and talking about two consecutive batches of Wenshan Baozhong oolong tea that were entered into competition. And on the left is spring 2020, and on the right is winter 2020. We're here today with batch number 63 of the Eco Cha Tea Club, which is a competition grade Wenshan Baozhong tea. Very similar to the batch we shared last June 2020, which was also a competition grade Wenshan Baozhong oolong tea. Oolong meaning that it is partially oxidized. From the same farmer, from the same farm, the main difference being that the one on my left here is from spring 2020 harvest, and the one on my right is from winter 2020 harvest. And we procured the spring batch, which became batch number 55 of the Eco Cha Tea Club, before our friend submitted his batches of tea for competition. So we showed up and we tasted the teas, and we decided to procure an extra batch for the Eco Cha Tea Club in addition to our ongoing stock of Wenshan Baozhong. Really for one main reason, which was that this batch was a singular day's harvest. And we wanted to just represent the pureness of it, the kind of delicate character it had, and to talk about how when batches are entered into competition, sometimes, depending on what the actual stock on hand is, the farmer will decide to mix together 2 days of the harvest. And this was kind of a confirmation and a lesson learned when we procured that batch last spring. It turns out he decided to enter this batch into competition, and it got tou deng jiang, which means the top 2% of all entries in the competition. We got it at wholesale price, not at all close to what he got with the packaged award-winning tea that it became. And we felt not guilty, but we felt privileged and also like, wow, I remember saying to Mr. Wong, maybe you should wait until after the results come out to decide to sell your tea. And he's like, no, that's just the way it is. That's the part of the game, and I take care of my wholesale customers, and that's just how that cookie crumbled, so to speak. And then we went more recently in December, late November, December, I guess December, to taste winter tea, and I walked into his house, and he said, "Come here, sit down, taste this." And he had 2 bowls of tea there with the leaves in it. That's how, particularly up in the Wenshan Baozhong area, people taste tea. And actually, it's quite common in general, especially with high mountain tea, to just put leaves in the bowl, let them brew, watch them brew, and taste them as the brew gets stronger. And there was very little left in both of these bowls, and it was cold. The tea was cold. So I tasted them, and I was like, they're pretty close. I don't know. If you ask me to choose one, I'll choose this one. And he scowled and he said, yeah, that one's a lot more expensive than this one. And I said, why? He's like, well, that one top place, number 1, got first place prize in the winter competition. And this batch, which I completely readily admit was very similar in flavor and constitution, was disqualified. And so he prepared that as a lesson to me, like, okay, this is also what happens sometimes, you know. His friend who won the first place prize brought a sample that morning before I arrived, and they tasted them together. So I said, okay, we procured the batch of tea before competition last spring. It ended up winning first place category, top 2%. And we think this tea that happened to just by luck of the draw or not luck of the draw get disqualified, we'd like to share this with the Eco Cha Tea Club as well, so that we can tell this story basically and be representing the industry here in the most transparent way and comprehensive way possible. Okay, so that's the story. Let's check these out. This has gotten fairly cool. The cups are still warm, but not hot. And this is from last spring. I just opened this bag, the last remaining bag that I have. And this is the winter harvest. I'm getting a fuller flavor, or I should say aromatic profile, from the spring. And a lighter, more delicate, very delicate herbal quality coming off the winter. And by looking at the brewed tea, the spring tea is obviously more oxidized. That could and is likely to be partially due to the post-oxidation. Wenshan Baozhong tea is not tightly rolled and therefore cannot be vacuum sealed. And so it is exposed to oxygen more than most tightly rolled oolongs that we get here in Taiwan. And it's also a relatively minimally oxidized tea. But in my personal experience and perception of Baozhong tea, the magic of it is that they can preserve a kind of green essence to it while sweetening it with oxidation. So they bring down, it's definitely very distinct from a green tea, but there's a freshness to it also. So there's just a sort of magic in their oxidation process, basically because they don't roll the leaves tightly. So the integrity of the leaves is remained, and there's something of that freshness that remains intact as well. Okay, lots of talking, no tasting here. Let's get on it. Yeah, a very distinct aromatic profile coming off the spoon. I did 6 grams of tea leaves for 90 seconds for the first brew and for a full 2 minutes on the second brew. Balanced vegetal, a little bit buttery. Very nice mouthfeel, nice texture to the tea. Noticeable oxidation, sweeter. Buttery vegetal qualities. Interesting. It's almost more refined, the second brew, even though it went for longer. It's kind of a more delicate profile. Let me go back here and check that out. Yeah, first brew, very balanced, very well-rounded and smooth mouthfeel. The second brew, a slight bit thinner, but a little bit more complexity to it as a result, and a little bit drier finish on the second brew. Let's check out the more recent winter batch. Yeah, very different. Really interesting. It's, you know, I always have to remind myself and make this point that in consecutive seasons, one is obviously significantly older than the other. So this has had time to sit over a half a year, maybe 8 months. And this is just a few months old. And it does have a fresher quality to it. It's also more delicate. More complex, more nose for sure. If you're into Wenshan Baozhong, the competition standard is for a very lightly oxidized, very delicate, very refined, very complex bouquet nose. They're not going so much for the fullness of texture or body. And our source has actually said to us, I make batches differently because I know there's a demand or customer demand for a more oxidized quality, but I also want to create batches for competition, so I have to go with that lighter, more complex quality. Let's go for the second brew of the winter 2020 harvest. This is definitely more of a competition grade. I'm getting chills. I love this story. I love that we could participate in this story too. I mean, the energy and the sort of angst that he expressed when he let me taste the first place prize winning tea along with his disqualified tea. He's like, do you think it's, he's just making a very significant and valid point that competitions are gambles. It is gambling, like there's a lot of factors that go into whose tea gets determined as better and worse, including the social psychology phenomenon of the judges. You can get well into that. It's a big, it's a big topic to discuss. So this is just how it happens, Last spring's tea got top 2%. This batch of, he also got top 2% with another day's batch that he entered. And that's the bottom line. I really should make a point of mentioning this. We feel very privileged to have this source. He's a consistent prize-winning tea maker. So he doesn't make bad tea. It's true. And he knows what we're looking for now. It's been at least 5 years. Great guy, very honest, super real, not trying to make more money than he needs to make, keeping the margin real. And it's exactly the kind of source that we really feel inspired to support and represent. World-class tea maker, not making tons of money. It's amazing. So there we have it. Competition grade Wenshan Baozhong oolong tea from the same farmer, a master in our perception and a consistent award-winning tea maker. So I guess other people feel the same way. Super cool guy, very real. Really the heart of it in terms of what we want to represent, as I said. As you may have noticed, I'm wearing a nice bright red shirt. That's because it's Chinese New Year. New Year's Eve is tomorrow. And that's what we do here. We wear red. And along with my red shirt that I went out just for this occasion, best wishes and blessings from Farewell. We have our monthly Tea Club gift. We always include some sort of bonus gift in our packages to be a little bit like the local culture here, extra generous. And so this year we decided to get something that is connected to this particular year. It's the year of the ox here, and it's the golden ox, or in Chinese medicine it would just be metal. So there's 5 different elements that rotate throughout the zodiac, as well as the 12 different animals. So we have Jinnyo, which means golden ox. On the other side we have a cute little ox or cow, and if I can read it, it's Zhao Cai Jin Bao Cai Fu Lai. Oh, Zhao Cai Jin Bao Cai Fu Lai, meaning prosperity, a blessing for prosperity. So we have 2021, year of Xintonian, the year of the golden ox. Lots of stuff like this here in the local culture. A somewhat reusable little pouch here that says 2021. Oh, luck and prosperity is the gist. Thanks for being with us. If you haven't already, please click like on this video, share it with anybody that you think might be interested, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel in order to be informed of all the things that we're here trying to record and represent in the local professional tea culture and industry in Taiwan. Happy Year of the Ox.